they took him straight to jail.
Like it's speed dating, get married, or get out.
They were probably thinking we're hookers.
Stop asking about cousin. Cousin cannot sponsor you. Welcome. This is American Passport Podcast. I'm Elena.
And I'm Katya. We're immigration attorneys and former USCIS officers.
This podcast is not about boring stories. This is about some moments from our immigration practice and some immigration news.
Elena, something's different today. I feel
Yes.
like you're next to me on a couch.
We have a different format today. I'm in Texas.
I am from California. In today's episode, we're going to talk about family immigration. It's a vast subject. We're only going to talk a tiny little part of it, but I will share it with you at least the big concepts so you have an idea who can immigrate here as a family member.
And stick around, we will share some news update that came out recently at the end of this podcast.
Elena, did I ever tell you how we actually immigrated to this country?
I don't think so. I think you mentioned it briefly.
Is that terrible? We've been good friends for how many years? I was like, My mom and I, we came here on a fiancé visa. So she came on a K1, I was on a K2 as her dependent. And it was quite an interesting story when we got to the US.
What happened? You keep us intrigued.
Anyways, we flew in to JFK and we got detained at the immigration control. You know how in our culture, if you're a woman, you're supposed to look hot. So, we dressed up for the occasion.
I mean, I can already picture this, but please continue.
This is in the middle of winter, and my mom and I'm a teenager. I didn't know any better, and she was going to meet her fiance, so she kind of wanted to dress to impress. So we were in these tiny little skirts, fishnets, high heels, a ton of makeup, the hair's all dolled up, and at the customs, they were questioning our purpose of coming to the U.S.
I mean, I would question you too. You dressed up like this for a transatlantic flight, which is like, what was it, 12 hours?
They were probably thinking we're hookers. And we're like, no, this is not what you think.
I'm just the fiance.
What are you coming here for?
Ooh, everyone has to be impressed, even at the airport.
But honestly, it's not a piece of cake to be on a K1 visa. So first, you have to pass through immigration control looking legit. After that, you only have 90 days, you're on the clock to get married.
Like it's speed dating, get married, or get out.
Not only have to make this person to fall in love with you and stay in love with you, but you have to avoid any of those epic fights. And if you don't get married, you cannot adjust a K1 visa to any other status. So basically, if you don't get married, you're out of luck. You have to depart the US. So the moral is, make them fall in love with you, do not get into any fights, and make sure they sign that marriage certificate. Well, anyways, tell us about your story. Do you have any family immigration story?
Well, I certainly do. I mean, I'm an immigrant myself, but mine is not as exciting as yours. When I became a US citizen, I sponsored my mom to live here to get a green card. And it was, well, almost smoothly because my mom is an immediate relative. When you become a US citizen, some relatives, like spouses, parents, and your children under 21 years old who are unmarried, they are immediate relatives and they can get a green card right away, which is amazing.
So they do not have to get in the queue and wait for God knows how many years?
Exactly. The green card is available right away. Also, the great thing about it is that you just have to show that you entered the country legally. So, for example, with a visa or parole, whether you maintain that status later on has no bearing on whether you're eligible for green card or not. They will still give it to you as long as you enter the country legally.
What about green card holders? Can they bring their spouses and relatives?
They can certainly sponsor them, but they are subject to numerical limitations. So for the green card holder, he or she can only sponsor the spouse and the children under 21 unmarried. Because they're subject to numerical limitations, they might have to wait for their green card to be available. They can check the visa bulletin, which is published by the Department of State every month.
How long is the wait?
As of now, it is about 2 years. but I know sometimes, like, that's why it's important to check every month. Sometimes it becomes current, and then you can file right away. It's almost like an immediate relative. Like, the visa is available right away, just file it.
Any juicy stories or problems or drama with your mom?
No drama, almost, but my mom was pretty surprised when she saw the vaccination list for the as a requirement for the green card. She thought she would have to do all the vaccinations again, but no, basically they just list them over from your record and then you just have to get whatever's missing, plus some TB testing, which is mandatory. Oh, and recently the COVID vaccination became mandatory as well.
So there was no childhood do-over? You did not have to redo all of those vaccines all over again?
Thanks God, no.
What about other relatives? Can my cousin sponsor me?
No. Stop asking about cousin. Cousin cannot sponsor you. So basically, the US citizen can only sponsor parents, spouses, and children under 21. The visa is immediately available for those for these categories. But US citizen can also sponsor his siblings and children over 21 or children who are married, but they will have to wait as well.
The big takeaway, yeah, do your vaccinations, advise your mama not only how to get her legal status, but be also her doctor, her therapist, and whatever else she wants you or needs you to be.
Well, once you graduate from law school, they expect you to know all of that, right? Real estate law, tax law.
Hey, I have this contract. Can you check this for me? Is everything legit? I was like, I've never practiced contracts law. I do not specialize in this.
Family immigration is a great, beautiful thing, but sometimes it can get messy. We had a client who had quite an immigration background, and just for the record, we were not his immigration attorneys at the time this happened. He came for a consultation, so we can review his record.
Let's jump into it. So we had a client once. He came to the US. He was a student. And while in the US, he fell in love. He married an American citizen who later on petitioned for him for a green card.
Yes, I think the biggest mistake there was that he decided that, okay, I will soon get a green card, and he stopped attending school. So he did not maintain his student status.
So basically, he lost his status while his application for a green card was pending.
And, you know, they were young, hot-tempered, and things got messy. They got in a really big fight right before the marriage interview. During the marriage interview, the US citizen spouse decided that she wanted to somehow punish him or something for that fight. She said she didn't want to sponsor him anymore. She said it was a sham marriage and it was completely unexpected to him.
Can you imagine going into the interview thinking you're going to get a green card, but instead you're going to get arrested? So basically, back in the day, it was about 10 years ago, we had enough resources in the government that they were calling in officers right there at the interview, and they busted this guy and they took him straight to jail.
It was a sad story. This happened because he did not have any other status, right? So his green card application was denied right there because there was no longer basis for it, right? Because the US citizen spouse withdrew her petition. And so because he was not a student anymore, he did not have any other legal status in the United States. So they picked him up from the immigration office and sent him to the immigration detention center.
He didn't want to fight his case, and it's his right. So he got deported straight out of jail. Is there a moral of the story?
The moral of the story is always try to know your options. Don't jump into like getting green card and not maintaining any other status. Because I think the reason behind him stop attending the school was that once he gets the green card, he gets a cheaper tuition for the school. So he would continue the school, but will pay less. But it turned out like completely opposite. Like he paid the biggest price of all.
I'm sure he trusted the spouse and everything, but you know better how your family situation looks like, whether this person is like gonna pull the plug or even threaten you to stay with them. A situation where an American spouse holds this immigration status hostage. Hey, do this stuff for me, otherwise I'm not gonna file paperwork for you, can be a basis for you to get your own green card on your own as a self-petitioner. You have rights to find another way how to get legalized here in the US if there is some sort of abuse.
Yeah, absolutely. If something like this happens, please talk to immigration attorney. There are options to fix this and to get your green card without the U.S. citizen or U.S. Green card holder sponsoring you.
Should we talk about the news?
Yes, let's talk about the news.
USAS just released new policy where you have to submit medical report together with your green card application.
This is great news because it used to be that the medical report will expire within 6 months. So a lot of people would not submit it right away and would wait for the request for additional evidence to be issued, and that would drag the time and contributed to the backlog. So now the new rule says that, first of all, the medical report doesn't expire and it has to be filed with the application for the green card. It's important that it has to be filed with the application for the green card, otherwise the application will be rejected.
But good thing now it can be done all in one shot. Very convenient.
By the way, all this talk reminds me about my favorite movie, The Proposal. Remember we watched it recently and how they dealt with the immigration situation there?
Oh my gosh, it was so funny. Elena was just visiting me in LA, and we wanted to watch The Proposal. It's a kind that's the greatest. However, when we were looking at the immigration aspect, there's so many inaccuracies. We were laughing. So maybe we should discuss this movie with our subscribers.
Yes, let's discuss this during our next episode. I think this is it for today.
Yes, so also write in the comments, maybe there's a subject that you want to discuss, and would be happy to cover this and explain it for you.
Please subscribe, like this video, and we'll see you next time.
See you in the next episode.